Howdy, folks. Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. And this is the start of the new schedule. I said that starting today, we'd go by the filming schedule that's in the description below. That on Sundays at noon Pacific time, which it's getting ready to be in just a couple of minutes here, that we would go live. So, and it happens to be Halloween. And what's ironic about that is, even though I dressed up to give out candy last night, because in Utah, all the kids if Halloween falls on a Sunday, they all trick or treat on Saturday. Even though I did all that, I don't actually own a Halloween T-shirt, like a Halloween themed T-shirt, which is weird because I have a lot of T-shirts, as you guys probably know. But so I just decided to go with the old standard wizard. But yeah, it's weird. I was like going through, I was like, I literally don't have a Halloween themed T-shirt. Hey, Rob. Yeah, well, that's why Rob, you're part of the reason why I decided to come up with a schedule, is because I wanted to make sure that I could do it where at least everybody, once a week, everybody, the European folks, could make it to a live, because by my estimation, let's see, it's 1 o'clock where I am, 12 o'clock Pacific time right now. I'm going to say it's about 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night where you are. Is that right, Rob? According to my math. Having my Baja Blast. I stock up on this when it comes out in the cans in the summertime. I usually buy 7 p.m. Okay. I usually buy 30 12 packs, and that lasts me all the way through to the following year when they come back out in cans again. Well, there's a shocker, Rob. Having lived in Europe, when I lived in Germany for 3 years in the Army, it was overcast and rainy a lot. My sideburns are a mess there. There wasn't a lot of, at least in Germany where I was in Bavaria, there was not a lot of sunny days. A lot of rain, a lot of overcast. I mean, there were some, and when it was sunny, it was nice. It was beautiful. But yeah, a lot of overcast, a lot of rain. And I'm assuming that, hey, Steel Guard. So yeah, I'm hoping that doing it on a schedule, I hope it helps out. My Raiders are on a bye this week, so I'm not even having to worry about whether or not they're playing right now. Oh, that's right. So you guys just got done, Rob, with trick or treating tonight, because it's already nighttime there. So yeah, I don't know. We'll probably get some kids again tonight that'll try and do double dip. They came for both nights, but yeah, I can't blame them. I mean, if I was like 12, 13 years old, and lived in Utah and found out that, well, when it's on a Sunday, they trick or treat on Saturday, people give out candy, I'd be going and knocking on doors on Sunday too. I'd try and get another bag of candy filled up. Why not? So, hey, you've been playing Disco Elysium. So how do you like it? It's one of my favorite games of all time. So, and like I told my buddy, when I reference Big John, when I reference Big John, he's my best friend from high school, and he's a game. He and I've been gaming since we've known each other, and so he has, I have 600 and some games on, 670 games on Steam or something. He's got close to 1,000 games on Steam or some crazy shit. And I told him about Disco Elysium because he hadn't bought it yet. And I said, dude, when it's on sale, you got to get it. I said, but, and back me up, Rob, tell me what you think here when I say this. I think it's best played um, if you got just a couple of drinks in you, because of the main character. I'm not going to give any spoilers or whatever, but because of the way the game plays and the mechanics involved and the main character, um, to try and get into character with that character, you almost got to be half in the bag a little bit just to it for me it heightens the experience because normally when you're faced with some of the questions and challenges in the game that are so out in right field and left field and everywhere else, um completely sober, you'd be thinking, wow, that's just a crazy thought, whatever. But if you're half in the bag, you might be like, what the hell, let's give it a shot. And so yeah, that's just my that's provided I'm assuming all of my audience is of adult drinking age. So I'm just going to make that disclaimer there because uh, you never know with YouTube. So uh, let's see, what did I want to talk about today? So I'll probably still do a recap video from the campaign on Friday night, but I will give you guys kind of the highlights. If you remember when we last left off, they were in the giant compound. This is for anybody that's not caught up here. My first edition AD&D campaign that we play on this table right here every Friday night. They're going through the Against the Giants campaign, the original first edition Giants campaign, and they're in the giant stronghold. And where we last left off, they had opened the giant double doors to the main dining hall, like banquet room type of a thing. So I'll answer your question in just a second, Rob. So they had opened it, and there was this massive banquet going on in the neighborhood of something like 30 giants, and then a bunch of ogres, and a cave bear, and a giant fire pit with tables, them eating and drinking and gambling and wrestling and everything else. They open and see this, and of course the party does the smart thing and decides to just shut the doors again. But they were, of course, noticed. And when we started up this time, I had told them, because they specifically told me in that previous session, the magic users said that before they opened those doors that they had spells at the ready. I allowed them at the beginning of this session, when they open, I said, when you guys open the doors and before you shut them, I will allow each of the magic users to fire off a spell as you guys are shutting the doors. And one of them fired off a fireball. The other one used ice storm, and the fireball did a decent amount of damage, but most of the giants made their saving throws, so it certainly didn't take any of them out. And then the ice storm, it basically blinded a bunch of them. That's one of the effects from ice storm. And then once the party closed the doors and decided to book it and take off, which was the smart thing to do, the giants that tried to follow them through that particular door that they had opened had to roll to not slip on the ice from the ice storm, and they all failed and fell down, so they could not pursue. And then the party runs out. Another set of giants went out another set of doors in pursuit, and that was a whole nother thing. But so just to highlight real quick is they did the smart thing. They fired off some spells real quick, shut the doors, and they took off because they realized there's no way in hell they could manage that entire group the way that they did. And then through a campaign of guerrilla warfare, they started picking giants off at random using different strategies, thinning the herd, as it were. When I do my recap video, I'll go into all the detail about that, but that's basically what had happened at this point. Oh, my little fireplace back there, that one. Yeah, I don't have that on right now. I have a real fireplace over here that you guys can't see, and I don't have that. It's not cold enough for that to be on right now either, but I usually just put that on for like ambiance and stuff. So let me read Rob's question here. When I used to play D&D, we entered a room with monsters. The team would shout out roll for bonuses. Now, did they say roll for bonuses or roll for initiative? Because generally you would say roll for initiative. And generally, yes. In this instance, because everybody in that room was, when they opened the doors, they were all dutifully engaged in their activities. They were eating, drinking, being entertained, wrestling, gambling, whatever. And so I treated it kind of like a surprise round and allowed them to fire off those 2 spells and shut the doors before the Giants had a chance to attack. So I treated it as a surprise round, basically. So because the Giants were all drunk too, they'd all been drinking and everything else, so that would have slowed their reaction a little bit. So I treated it as a surprise round. But to answer your question, in normal circumstances, yeah, you would say roll for initiative, you know. But knowing that they were going to immediately close the doors and take off, surprise round. So, um, so so yeah, we will do a separate recap video. I'll probably do that tomorrow. I'll probably do it tomorrow in the afternoon at some time and get that up, and uh, I'll go through all the details of how they managed to do what they accomplished. Um, if you're curious, as far as a picture of the table with all the Giants, like what the scene looked like, if you go to my Facebook page, Greyhawk 4x4. By the way, just as a reminder, if you do a Google search for Greyhawk 4x4, just like my title for YouTube, my handle on YouTube, if you just Google search, it has all my social media stuff will come up. My Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, everything. Pinterest, Snapchat, what ones I'm not even remembering. You name it. Steam, it's Greyhawk 4x4 on Steam. All of it. So, but yeah, if you go to the Facebook page, I did post a picture this morning of what it looked like, the number of giants and creatures and everything, and then the party. And that when I took that picture, that wasn't the full party because they hadn't gotten here yet, and one of the party members brings their mini with them. But you get the idea. So, if you guys are curious to seeing that. So well, thank you, Rob. Yeah, the tavern here, as I like to call it, Greyhawk's Tavern. Yeah, it's there's a reason that I'm pretty much a hermit. You know, it's like as I've gotten older, I really don't like crowds. I hate going to stuff like the movie theaters and stuff like that. I mean, I will if it's a movie where I absolutely want to see it on the big screen, I'll go. But you know, um, and then when my wife and I decide to travel or something. But other than that, you know, it's I love the tavern. So let's see here. Hey, Colin. I'll answer your other question about New World in just a second, Rob. I want to ask Colin something because Colin, you posted hey Chupa, you posted Colin, you posted 2 questions or a comment and a question, and one of them was on one of my videos was about a VR headset, and I saw the notification, but when I clicked on it, it said comment is no longer available. So my question to you, Colin, is did you delete that comment or did YouTube? Because if you didn't, that means YouTube, their fucking anti-spam bot deleted your comment because I didn't get to read the whole thing. It was about a VR headset. So I'm really curious to know whether or not you deleted it or if it was that goddamn YouTube bot. Chupa, I did have a question for you, so I don't forget. How are your Bears doing? I noticed I was watching earlier and the Bears were playing, but I didn't see what the if I'm remembering correctly, Chupa, you're the Bears fan, right? And then Rob, you said is in New World, what's the quest system like? Rob, it's just like most MMO quest systems where you got NPCs giving you quests and stuff like that. I can't remember if there's any items that start quest lines or whatever, but it's very similar to most MMOs. The the thing I like about it, a lot of people don't like this, but I like is that once you become part of a faction, you have a faction person that gives quests, and you could do that to earn faction points and XP and everything else. And those are rotating. You can when you get those done, you can get it has new ones for you to take and go do those or whatever. So if you want to grind faction rep, it's very easy and so forth. And then, but there's main storylines, there's side quest storylines, there are quest lines. There's like a fishing quest line. There's PvP quests that I don't really do. I'm not a PvPer, but there's a whole system of PvP quests. There's dungeon quests, etc. So, sorry, Chupa. For some reason, I was thinking you were a Bears fan. There's somebody in one of my lives that was a Bears fan. I can't remember who that was then. I don't know how the Giants are. I wasn't watching to see how the Giants are doing. So, okay. So, Colin, you edited it, but you didn't delete it. Yeah, because it's gone. And I never got to read the whole thing. So that tells me that YouTube, for whatever reason, something triggered their bot to think that it was spam. They used to hold those. There's a section where it will say held for review for me to look at, and then I approve it, and nothing ever goes in there anymore. It used to go into there under held for review. I could look at it and go, no, this is not spam, and approve it so it would show, but nothing even goes in there anymore. I never even see any deleted comments. YouTube just fucking deletes them on their own. They don't even ask me. It pisses me off. So Colin, if you feel like typing it here, you can type that and I will answer your question. Or if you want to repost it on that video, you can repost it there. You can DM me. And whatever you guys want to, whatever you want to do, Colin, because I do want to answer your question. It was something about, or you were telling me something about the VR. All I saw was VR headset, and that it was, you confirmed that it was usable if you had cataract surgery or something like that. So, okay, so HTC Vive Cosmos try to view game, highly recommended. Okay, yeah, because I'm thinking about a VR headset, and I don't know anything about them. So, hey Rob, so New World, I play solo. I'm not much of a group, even in MMOs, and it is perfect for my style. You don't have to PvP. You can stay opted out. You can anytime you're in town, you can declare yourself PvP eligible and then go back out and PvP all you want. I just keep it off. So yeah. So the VorpX doesn't work well. That's good to know. The HTC Vive Cosmos, that's one I'll have to look into then. In our D&D campaign, is there a natural leader of the party? Not, I wouldn't say necessarily there's a natural leader. No, I really wouldn't say that there is. They all contribute in their own way, and nobody like says this way or the highway, we're going to do this or, whatever. They kind of, come to an agreement and kind of do what they think is the best. So I wouldn't say that there's a natural leader. That there's probably, personality wise, like for the players, there's probably somebody that I would say, yeah, would probably be a natural leader, but the way they play their characters, no. So, hey, Mistra, also known as Dragon. I call her Dragon. So, so we were able to get Mistra and Rob both are in Europe. So and then I think one of you guys, is it Colin that's in Canada? One of you guys is from Canada, I think. Might be Steelguard. He might be from Canada. I can't remember. I try to remember where everybody's from, but it gets kind of fuzzy sometimes. So. Okay, so the economy. Let me take a drink here, and then we'll get into that. That's a big topic. So, the New World economy. I want to explain this. What they did in this game is they made it so that everything, literally 100% of everything, is player driven. There are no NPCs selling anything. If you want to buy something, you got to get it from on the trading post, the player economy. Some other player has to put up there for you to buy. Okay. There are ways to go out and farm anything you want if you go out and farm stuff. That's right. Colin's from Scotland. And if you either farm it or you got to buy it from another player. There's no NPCs selling anything, which would be fine. That would feed the economy perfectly. However, they have a housing system in the game, and you really do want to own a home because fast travel, storage, all these other benefits you get from having a home. But the property taxes, all the taxes are set by whichever guild has control of that particular territory. So if your faction, a guild from your faction, owns the territory where you have your house, you're going to pay lower taxes because you're part of that faction, etc. But territories change hands all the time because of the war system. So you could have a territory that you have a home in, and you have to pay property taxes every 5 days, not every 7, every 5 days. And all of a sudden, somebody else takes that territory, and they jack the property tax rate all the way to the max or whatever, and you get hit with this massive gold. Wow, I'm popular. Hopefully that's touchdowns for my fantasy football. You could get hit with these massive tax burdens in the game, and what's happened is once you hit max level 60, and you've finished all the quest lines for like the main story quest line and the side story quest lines, and then all you have is the repeatable quests. It becomes very limited on gold making. And some level 60s are saying they can't even make enough gold to keep up with their property taxes. And what's happened is it has caused a massive deflation on the trading post because they keep going and dumping stuff onto the trading. So much stuff on because everybody's trying to make gold to pay their property taxes, and there's so much product going on the trading post, supply and demand. There's so much supply that demand is going way, and so people keep undercutting each other to where everything is becoming very, very cheap because they're all trying to compete against one another to make their property taxes. So what they're going to have to do in the game is they're going to have to change the tax system for the property tax. At least they're going to have to make it a flat rate for property. Excuse me. They've got a crafting tax. They have a trading tax, a property tax. There's 4 of them, I think, if I remember. I can't remember what the other one is. And they could keep the other ones to where the guilds could set them at their leisure. But the property tax one for people's homes, because you can own up to, when you're max level, I think you can own 5 homes. That's property tax on each one of those. And they've got to set like a set amount where it can't be, they've got to. That's what they're going to have to do. Why they haven't done it already, I don't know, because it's pretty bad. So I don't know if that answers your question, Colin, but yeah, I would say, Rob, get some decent beer, get some Samuel Smith, or get some Hobgoblin. I don't know if do they even still make Hobgoblin Ale? That's one of my favorite beers of all time, is Hobgoblin from the Witchwood Brewery. If I could get that here, that's what I would be drinking all the time. So let's see here. What am I? Okay, let's see if I'm missing anything else here. Am I all caught up here? I think I'm caught up here. Did I miss anything? Let's see. Oh, I did miss Colin. I got Cosmos because it was only 290 pounds on eBay. So that would be about 320, 330 bucks or something like that. You can get Hobgoblin. Oh, Man, brown ale. For those of you who don't know, I'm a big fan of brown ales. And the way they describe Hobgoblin is they can they used to say on the bottle, dark English ale is what it would say. It's one of my favorite beers of all time, if not my favorite. I mean, it's up there. So, um, yeah, if I could still get, I tried to order it through our state liquor store because they had it listed. But you have to order everything by the case. If you're doing a special order, you got to order a minimum of a case. And I put an order in for it, and then I got an email back saying it was no longer available. Now that could be because of the supply chain thing. I don't know, but yeah, kind of sucks. Yeah, I mean, uh, my wife and I, when we go to Europe on our European trip, I'm not sure when that's going to be, but when we do go, and I make it to England, I have a very strong suspicion I'm not going to want to come home. I watch a lot of British crime dramas, Midsummer Murders, Father Brown, all those where they're all in these cool English villages with all the scenery and the pubs and sausage rolls and I mean, and I don't think I'm gonna want to come home. I think I'm gonna want to move there. So, but then again, I'm sure that that doesn't show the bad, the whatever the bad issues are or whatever. You don't see those on TV. You just see the good stuff. So, Silent Witness, huh? I'll have to add that to the list. Yeah, because we already watched like what was it, Detective Morse, and then Lewis, and now Endeavor, and uh, then what was the one, Shetland? So this would be for Colin, I think. Shetland is one of our favorite shows of all time, uh, and because if I'm not mistaken, that's Scotland, pretty sure. Shetland Islands, or is that Scotland or is that Ireland? I can't remember, but Shetland is one of our favorite shows of all time. Um, and let's see, what else am I forgetting? Father Brown, Midsummer Murders, and I'm sure there's Grantchester, Grantchester, um, yeah, um, and then there was the one that was just it was 2 seasons, I think. I can see it in my mind, but I can't think of the name of it. It was the one that David Tennant from Doctor Who was in. He was um, it was one about okay, so Shetland is part of Scotland. That's what I thought. Yeah, I can't think of it. I can picture it in my mind, but yeah, there was a crime drama that was 2 seasons that um, David Tennant was the lead, and I can't think of and uh, what's her name? Coleman is her last name. Olivia Colman was the female lead. So you had David Tennant and Olivia Colman, and I can't think of the name of that show, but that was good too. It was only 2 seasons, but um, New Tricks. So we watched a couple of episodes of New Tricks. I liked it. I don't know if it was my wife. I don't think liked it as much. Um, and then there was the other one, um, where the place where Jack the Ripper, that area where the name of it was where Jack the Ripper was from. And the first episode was like about them trying to solve the Jack the Ripper murder and all that. There was that one too. Um, I did not get the Overseer's rifle in Fallout 4 yet, but I did go there to that vault, and I saw it there. And I was like, Whitechapel, that's it. And so now I know where to get it, so that if I want to switch to that build and start using that type of weapon. So Broadchurch, yep, Whitechapel, saw all of Whitechapel, and that was like 2 or 3 seasons, I think, and Broadchurch, and the Night Manager. Night Manager, saw all the Bright Night Manager too. Told you we watch a lot of British crime dramas and stuff. It's good stuff. So And any of you that have not watched any of the ones I just listed off, all good choices. It's good stuff. For us, it's like, you know how you have comfort food. People say, "Oh yeah, that's comfort food." Meatloaf and potatoes, and that's comfort food or whatever. For us, when we sit down to watch like Father Brown or one of those, and I have a nice cold beer, and my wife gets her hot chocolate or whatever. For us, that's like a nice relaxing evening to watch that stuff. So, well, tell Diane I said hello if she can see me. Hi, Diane. So, um, I won't forget that name, Rob, because that's my first wife's name. So, I can't forget that. So, let's see what else. Oh, I wanted to show you guys. So, I don't know how many of you guys out there also have like gaming tables where you guys game at and stuff, where you have people over on a regular basis. But one of the things I did when I first started having people over was I started a guest book. And so everybody that comes, I bought this at Comic-Con, and so everybody that comes, I have them all sign the guest book. And there's quite a few. There's a lot of signatures and stuff in here. And I told my, you guys can write, you guys can draw stuff in here. You guys, that's my buddy that makes the t-shirts, the Rusty VW right there. He he drew something in there, and there's, yeah. Anyway, but it's we've been here like 7 years now, and it's fun to look back and look through this. And if we're here for another 20 or 30 years or whatever it is, I can't imagine how full this thing will be, because we've had a lot of people game here. So it's a kind of a nice memento to have. It was just not, I got this at a Comic-Con. I was like, what am I going to use this for? And I thought, I'll just use it for a guest book. So that was something I hadn't shown you guys that before. So let's see what else. What other topics? Man, we covered a lot already. We covered Disco Elysium, New World, British gaming shows. We talked about football briefly. American football. I got to make sure and say that. American football. Are you going to film a D&D session? I'm going to have to ask them, because not only will it be me, but I have to get their consent as well if they're okay with being filmed. So I need to do that. Probably, if I remember at the next session, I need to pose that question, because it's only fair to them. I'm not just going to film them without asking because maybe they don't want to be on the internet, who knows. So, but I will absolutely ask them that. So, when I've filmed it before briefly, just for little clips and stuff, I would always ask them ahead of time. I say, you guys okay if I do a quick clip, or whatever. But like, if we're going to do like a full session, and there's people that are playing now that weren't then, so I'd have to make sure and ask again to make sure everybody's okay with it. So, yeah. Oh, I know one other thing I did want to ask, for any of you here, I guess even if you're over in Europe, I guess you could still do it. For any of you that are fans of American football, and any U.S. football fans that are here, does anybody out there else besides me play fantasy football? Because I've been doing fantasy football for 20 years now, as long as it's probably been around. And so I'm just curious to see how everybody's doing in their league, if there's anybody else out there. My favorite film of all time is the movie Jaws. And you can't see it, but I have a Jaws poster in here. That's my favorite movie of all time. Yeah. I saw that when that came out, I think it's 76 or 77. So I was 10 or 11 years old, and it scared the living shit out of me. And I mean, people will tell you when they say, oh, people didn't want to go back in the water. That's not an exaggeration. There was a lot of people that wouldn't go in the ocean after that movie came out. It was Quint's one of my favorite characters of all time. That that monologue scene where he monologues about the USS. Hey, John. Uh, John, are you the one that's the Bears fan? Maybe it's you that's the Bears fan. I was asking earlier about whoever the Bears fan was, and I think it might be you now that I see your name. Um, but yeah, that monologue about the USS Indianapolis is, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the greatest scenes in movie history. So, yeah, there were Rob. There, you're not exaggerating. Yeah, there were you wouldn't. There were kids that wouldn't go in a swimming pool after Jaws came out. Yeah, there was somebody here. I'm sure they'll pop in probably maybe at some point. Okay. Yeah, because it was, and when you watch it now, it's a little dated, but it's still it's still a fantastic film. And so that's my favorite of all time. Um, but you said Alien, I think. Um, so Alien is probably the first Alien and the second one, the two. Those are probably my two favorite like horror flicks. I don't call Jaws a horror flick. I really don't. A lot of people say it's a horror flick. I don't think it is. Um, but uh, Alien and Alien 2, those are probably my two favorite horror flicks of all time. I mean, it's horror in space, but brilliantly done. I mean, probably Alien 2 was actually probably better than the first one, if we're being honest. Um, there was there was some conflict between, I think it was Richard Dreyfuss and Robert Shaw. I think there was. I know there was some conflict with Dreyfuss with somebody. I can't remember if it was with him or if it was with Chief Brody, the actor that played Chief Brody. Um, but yeah, there was definitely some conflict. Yeah, and my understanding was that Quint, Robert Shaw, when he playing Quint, when he did that scene about the Indianapolis, he had the flu, and he wanted to. They wanted to. Spielberg wanted to cancel the shoot for that day, and he said, "No, no, I can do it, but I'm going to do it once." He goes, "I'm gonna." He was really sick, and he goes, "I'm going to do it once and get out of here." And he did. That was a one take scene when he did that USS Indianapolis monologue. That was one take, which is mind fucking blowing if you ask me that he did that in one take. But um, yeah, he was a good Bond villain. He was. There was a movie called The Sting that he was fantastic in. Um, that of course I'm dating myself again. Yeah. Show me the way to go home. Boom, boom, boom. Tired and I want to go to bed. Yep, that was one of the highlights there. So yeah. Let's see. Anything else? Trying to think. There was something else. Oh, did we want to talk at all about the Bobby Kotick Blizzard thing? Because I covered it in my last video. Um, Somebody had asked me, hey, could you talk about this in a video? Because he put out that letter to all the employees at Blizzard about how we're gonna do this roadmap to making things better and all this. And I, as I said on my video, that was all corporate speak by lawyers that typed all that up, and then he just put his name on it or whatever. I just want, if there's anybody else here that has anything to add or a different take on it, because I wasn't buying it for a second that any of that was sincere or, you know, um, that it was that he gave a shit or whatever. So, oh, you're working on your campaign. Is that so? What edition, John? What edition campaign are you doing? Or are you doing like Pathfinder or? Um, oh, take care, Rob. If you're taking off, I'll see you. Um, so yeah, I've been going for 40 minutes. I'll probably go for an hour and then. All right, see you, Rob. Thanks for checking in. See ya, Diane. So, um, oh, 2E. Oh, okay. So, So is it strictly 2E, or do you use first edition rules and then add some? Because that's what I do, first edition, and I add some second edition stuff. I allow some second edition stuff in to my campaign, like the specialist kits that they came out with, in second edition. Um, so I allow that stuff in, and so forth. Um, Unearthed Arcana, some people say, well, that was first edition. Some other people say, no, that was second edition. I think it was first edition, but because they added the Thief Acrobat and the Cavalier. Um, that was with those two for sure, but um, I consider that first, but some people consider that second. So do you allow that stuff in your campaign? Okay, got it. Yeah. Um, Nob, Nob is a fun town, and you're fleshing it out. So it all depends upon how you decide how extensive you want to flesh it out and how much detail you want to put into it. It's a fun mechanic for that campaign. Yeah, see, that's how I am. Excuse me. I take a little bit from here, a little bit from there. He said straight. He says for those on watching this on replay that don't see this yet. Also, by the way, when you see replay of a live, it takes a while before you can see the chat box. So if you're watching this on replay and the chat box isn't visible, it takes YouTube like a day or two sometimes before you'll be able to see the chat box. I'm not sure why, but it does. But John is saying that strictly speaking, probably a mishmash of everything, bits and pieces. So that's basically what I do. I mean, I take here and there, and there's stuff that I allow, and then there's other stuff where I'm like, no, that's too overpowered or whatever. So yeah, it's kind of one of the good things about being a DM is you make the rules. So um, you know, I had one correspondence with Gary Gygax when he was alive, and I can't remember. I asked him a question about timeline for Greyhawk, and he responded. This is back in the AOL days. We were communicating through AOL, and he responded back saying, "Hey, look," he goes, "it doesn't matter what I say as far as the timeline goes. What you could allow, what not to allow." Because I was asking him, based upon where my campaign is on the timeline, there's some content that I want to work in, but it I don't know that it necessarily fits the timeline. And he basically came back and said it doesn't matter. He goes, your however you want to do it is the right way to do it. He goes, whatever you decide, that's the right way to do it. He goes, independent of whatever any of the books say, he goes, however you choose to run your campaign, that's the right way. That was his response to me. And I still have it. I printed it out. I've got it somewhere. And I kept that in here. I was like, regardless of what the rule books say or whatever, he said, it doesn't matter. He goes, you're the final say. The DM in that particular campaign is the final say. So, yeah. I don't know if that helps anybody, but it helped me because it was like, okay, then I'm going to do my own thing the way that I like it. And that's going to be it. And if players have an issue with it, we can discuss it. And perhaps I can make adjustments to make them more comfortable. But on certain things, I'm gonna have a hard line, and I'm gonna say no. That's not negotiable. That one's a deal breaker. I'm not changing that. That's the way that one's gonna be. So yeah. After getting that from him, it was like that makes perfect sense now. And he's quoted as saying back when they first invented D&D and first published it and everything. Whether or not he actually said it or not, I don't know. But supposedly he said something to the effect of, as they were selling all these books and rules and all this stuff, and they kept coming out with new products and selling them. And he goes, I wonder if they're ever going to realize that they don't even need any of this stuff to play the game. And he's absolutely right. I mean, if you have enough imagination and you can as a DM, and as long as your players are in on this on the same page, you don't have to have any books necessarily. You can come up with your own system and just do it yourself. So whether or not he actually said that, he's purported to have said it, but you know, but it makes sense. So let's see. Any other questions? Any other topics? Anything anybody want to talk about? Kill this off here. I don't know how. I think the most we might have had 7, at least according to my little count thing here. We might have had 7 people at one point, which I think the most I've ever had. I think I had like 13 on one live. But so as you can see, I'm a Dew fan, and I wanted to show this for some of you that may not have this yet. This is the Mountain Dew Thrashed Apple, and there was an apple soda called Aspen way back in like the 70s or 80s. It wasn't around that long. And it was delicious. Aspen was delicious. This is the closest thing to Aspen soda that I've seen. Now, the only place they sell this is at Kroger brand markets. This is a Kroger exclusive. So I guess that's Kroger, Ralph's, anybody that Kroger owns, any of the different chains, you can get this there. So it's a little too early, and it's a little too early for beer for me right now, because I'm probably going to be, if we have trick-or-treaters again tonight, I'll probably be up late. So okay, we're at 47 minutes, and it looks like the chat is dying down. So unless anybody has any other questions or any other topics that they want to discuss, I may just stop this at 50 minutes then, because it looks like everything's dying down. People got other places to go, other things to do, shows to watch, etc. So my count thing says we have between 2 and 3 people right now. Keeps going back and forth, but that could also be completely inaccurate. So if I don't get hey, we got somebody else, Mike. Happy Halloween, Mike. Maybe Mike. So there was somebody that was in one of my lives that was a Chicago Bears fan. And I'm trying to find out who that was. Oh, I'm sorry, Colin. Yeah, I hope you feel better, man. At least it's just a cold. Just think of it that way. At least it's not COVID, right? If it's just a cold, you consider yourself. Yeah, I can't remember who it was. There was somebody, we had a conversation about the Bears and everything, and I can't figure out. So all my regulars are pretty much in here now. There's none of you guys, so I don't remember who it was. But anyway, my Raiders are on a bye this week, so I got no football really other than my fantasy football. That's the only thing I watch for right now, because my Raiders are on a bye. And I asked earlier if anybody else was doing fantasy football, but I didn't get a response. So I'm guessing that none of you guys are doing fantasy football. I'm pretty sure the European people are definitely not, but unless they watch American football. But I've been doing it for about 20 years, and I don't do it for any money. I don't do any of because some of them they do where they bet money on it or whatever, but I just do it for fun and bragging rights and everything. But it's extremely frustrating. If you haven't done it, it's extremely frustrating. It's challenging and frustrating, but for some reason it's addicting too. Does Blood Bowl count? No, I'm talking about fantasy football, like on ESPN or Yahoo or any of those. So, um, but I guess technically, Blood Bowl would be fantasy football, but video game in a video game, realm. So, yeah, I'm talking about, for those that don't know, fantasy football is you basically pick from real players, you pick your own roster, and then you have to put a roster up every week, and then you're put up against somebody else in your league, and you play, and the total number of points is who wins, and you do that for a whole season, and then there's a championship, etc. And it's very frustrating, but it's also, for some reason, it's addicting. So, all right. Let's see. I've never played Blood Bowl. I've never played the video game. Um, but I know people that have, that rave about it. So, um, is that, Mike? Is Blood Bowl? I'm guessing that is multiplayer. I'm guessing you're playing against another human, or is it you play against a computer, or can you do either? Is it one of those where you can do either, where you can play against a computer or you can play multiplayer? Because I don't know anything about it. I have not been a. Oh, you played the board game. Okay. I didn't realize that. I know there's the Blood Bowl video game, but I didn't realize it was a board game. So, um, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Blood Bowl? Isn't it like orcs on one side and something else on the other side, and they play like basically a violent game of like of some type of football or something like that. Um, that's my that's how little I know about it. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just trying to remember back. Like I've seen like ads on Steam or whatever, and I kind of think that's what I saw. So I guess I can look it up real quick. Let's see here. So yeah, there's the board game. Wow. Um, and then it's on Xbox as well. Let's see how close that was to my description here. Yeah, that looks like orcs or something with a spiked football. So orcs, elves, and all that. Okay. Shit, more I hear about it, it actually sounds like it might be fun. I didn't know it was it. So it's a tabletop mini game, mini board game with minis. All right. That sounds to me like is that sounds expensive, because that sounds like you're going down the the Warhammer uh, realm there, and the Warhammer people, how many thousands of dollars they spend on their minis and terrain and all that stuff. Um, but when I hear minis on a board game, like a mini game, I think that could get expensive. Not that that's a bad thing. Yeah, because I'm even looking at pictures. It looks like you can even paint the minis, just like Warhammer. Yeah, that's what it looks like. I'll be damned. Huh. Yeah, that looks expensive. So, and D&D, as much as I tell people, like when I tell people that are thinking about getting into D&D, I always tell them, oh, it's a cheap hobby, because all you need is, just buy like the player's handbook and some dice, and you're good, which is true. That's just all you need. But, um, okay, yeah, I was looking at pictures, Mike, and it showed like the nice minis all painted and all. And so I was like, that sounds like you could get into the Warhammer type area there, where you're spending a lot of money on that stuff. But like I was saying about D&D is, I tell people that all the time, like, oh, you just need a player's handbook, some dice, it's cheap, and then hours of entertainment and everything. But it never seems to go that way, because people then want to buy minis, and then they want to buy more books. And as more books come out, they want to buy those. And before you know it, you're still spending, you know, a decent amount of change. So, well, we're coming up on 55 minutes, so I'm going to start winding this thing down. I'm officially tired of talking. Maybe that's because on Friday night I talked for 4 or 5 hours back there, and then, oh, awesome! Yeah, you got the the classic demon dice tower. I don't know that I'll ever use it as a dice tower. I love it just for the aesthetics and then the light, with it, and it's because when I game seriously, like at the computer, if I want to have a nice session of New World or whatever, Fallout 4, whatever, I turn all the lights down and I put on my mood lighting, and that's part of it, is that dice tower. I got to have so that I can get immersed into the game, and so that's part of that. I don't know how much you guys get into the immersive aspect of like with playing D&D and stuff. I always have like the candle I have there is Haunted Haystack for Halloween. That was a new one they had at the candle place or whatever. And it smells kind of like you would think, like medieval, haunted mansion type of a thing. And so with the lighting, because I have everything on dimmer switches, so dim it down. Got candles, you got the aroma, you got and then I always have music or sound effects playing too, because I'm all about the immersion. So yeah. All right, guys. Well, anybody got any last second questions or anything? Otherwise, we're gonna shut this thing down. And tomorrow, I should be getting up that video, the recap. So, well, I'm over 52, 50 as well. And yeah, 80s metal, huh? We did that when I was at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And in the 80s, we'd have metal music playing and stuff like that. So, hey, Jonathan. Oh, at the last second, you decided to speak up, huh? Or did you just pop in here? Jonathan is one of the players from the campaign. So, yeah, that's right, Chupa. I think you were the one that was in the military, the army as well. So, all right, guys. Until next time, I guess we'll catch you on the flip side. That's old school right there, the metal soundtrack. Oh, you just popped in, John. Okay, I thought you'd been lurking all this time. So, yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you, and look out for that video for tomorrow. So, catch you guys on the flip side.